Hey, what is up, world? It is Kane here, bringing you another edition of the Daily Drive. Today we're going to talk about back to the kind of video games. We talked about Traffic, we talked about the Xbox One S, which I do want to admit I will talk more about the Xbox One S probably. I'm hoping in a couple weeks, to be perfectly honest, but I'm figuring it will actually be a little bit longer than that. Just because I want to wait for all the specs to come out so I can actually really do a solid side-by-side comparison. And then we'll probably talk about Project Scorpio as well at that point. But anyways, that's not what I came to talk to you about. I came to talk to you guys about video games. And more specifically, one video game franchise. One that I've played a reasonable amount of. It's one that I'm rather fond of, and it's one that I hope you guys have had the opportunity to play as well. And that franchise that I'm going to talk about is actually Dark Souls. And I picked this game specifically because it is a game that I'm playing right now. If you ever come over to my house and come hang out, I am playing Dark Souls 3. I'm just about done it, in fact. I've got two or three Lords of Cinder left. And if you played the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, excuse me. Let's start off with the basics. So for those of you guys that have not played it, Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 is part of a series, obviously, that actually stems from a game I believe called Demon Souls. And the premise of the game is you play a character who is essentially you're hollowing. And more or less the way I look at it is you are a human whom is turning undead. And the further undead you become, the more crazy you essentially will turn. So as you're traveling the course of the game, you will find people that are 100% hollowed. And in that essence, they're crazy backcrab, crazy skeletons. They have no rhyme or reason, no thought process. They just kill. Pretty straightforward. Now, and I'm sure somebody out there is going to be like, no, that's not how the game is. You're wrong, blah, blah. It's my opinion. That's how I perceive it. I know it is not 100% correct, but that's how I perceive it to make it make sense in my brain. So, if you don't like it, too fucking bad. Anyways, so the storyline in the game is virtually non-existent, and to be perfectly honest, the plot is very ambiguous, I guess. In the first game, at the very least, the second game a little bit less, and the third game a little bit less, but more or less, in order to really kind of find out the plot, you've got to go around, talk to everybody like 300 times. You've got to go do something like, go kick that cat, jump on that dog's tail, dance in a circle, singing Kumbaya, and then come back and talk to him again, and you'll get more dialogue that'll unlock more of the story. It's definitely not a case of there to kind of tell you the story. And in some of the later games, it's actually very sneaky what they do. The third one, for example, it's all kind of a cause and effect thing. So as you're progressing, if you go kill a boss, let's say, and then you go back to town, there might be a character there who suddenly doesn't like you because you killed that boss. And had you talked to them beforehand and did this little side event, then they still like you. Because you did it, now they don't. So, you talked to this player? Okay, well, I don't like you now. We're hostile enemies. Shit like that. It's silly. It's really what it is. But it does make the game a little bit more unique. The game is played in a third-person format. Basically, you're constantly looking at the back of your character. You can turn your camera as you're fighting to look at the sides and look at the front. And it's a difficult game, but it's really not. And now some of you guys are going to get upset with me about this one. Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, they are not hard games per se. They are hard at first. So chances are you're going to go in and you're going to do a boss fight, or you're going to go play Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3. You're going to do an encounter, even whether or not it's a non-boss, it's a boss fight, it doesn't matter. You're going to go in and you're going to fight something, and you know what's going to happen? You're going to die. You might live for the first little while, but eventually you're going to die. It happens, okay? Unless you're one of those guys that is just absolutely unreal at the game, like I'm talking like next level professional player, chances are it's going to happen. And you know what? You're going to be like, oh my god, how did I die? And you're going to go in and you're going to do it again and again and again, and then eventually you're going to kill that boss. Well, I'm going to give you an idea, or a recommendation, let's say. Pay attention to what the boss is doing. Every single boss in Dark Souls, like almost every other game out there, but more noticeably in this one, has a tell. And what I mean by that is they have some action they will take place before they are going to take another action. For example, the boss turns around and he cocks back with his massive axe, and then he swings. You will see him pull back that axe and pull it back to his shoulder and hold it there for a second. Then you will see him come back across and swing that axe and cut you in half. That first activity that he takes, where he cocks back with the axe, he pumps his arm back and he pulls that axe back behind him, that is the first tell. That is the game identifying and saying, hey, listen, stupid, we're coming in hot here. You might want to dodge, you might want to block, you might want to move the hell out of the way. It's pretty self-explanatory. Another thing with Dark Souls that's nice is all the bosses have a weakness. So, you might go in on a boss and you go in there and you start swinging at him with your sword and you're like, oh my god, it's not doing anything. And then you pull out your axe that's enchanted with fire and you start swinging him and it just starts destroying him. Hey, guess what? The boss might be immune to a little bit weak to fire. So it's got kind of a Pokemon type mechanics in it. There are weaknesses and strengths. So kind of cool. But the gameplay itself is actually relatively solid. The first game and the second game, there was some fairly decent glitches in it. And if you actually go online now to Twitch, for example, you can see people doing speedruns of Dark Souls 1, where they pull a certain mob or whatever, and they glitch through the floor, and they fall, and they end up skipping past half the game and do all this shit. It's some crazy ass shit. And honestly, it's not the right way to play the game, but it's cool. But the cool thing about the game is that with Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, your currency system is called souls, hence Dark Souls. Everything that you kill yields a soul. So you're out cruising along, doing your thing, jamming out, having a good time, and you kill, 10 skeletons, and you kill a tree, and you kill a bunch of other shit. Every one of those mobs will give you a soul, or a souls. And also you can find lost souls on the ground, and those will also yield you souls. And then those souls are used for one of two purposes. And I'm sorry right now, the camera's all bumpy and shit, and you guys are going to say something about it. I get that. You know what? Unfortunately, some of the areas I drive, the roads are pretty crappy. Sorry. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So in Dark Souls, the souls are your currency. So use them for buying items. So if you want to buy weapon upgrades, you want to buy armor upgrades, you want to reinforce your weapon or basically improve it, you want to add infusions or an element to it, like fire or poison or something like that. That all costs you souls to do. Additionally, it costs you souls to level. So the way they've done the leveling system in Dark Souls is very straightforward. You spend souls at a specific location. So in Dark Souls 1, I don't remember how they did it. Sorry, my arm is getting tired. In Dark Souls 1, I can't remember exactly how they do the souls thing. I think you actually have to go back to a specific location and to the bonfire there, and then do it there. I don't remember. Dark Souls 2 and 3, though, they have an NPC that you go and talk to. It's the same NPC the entire game. You go chat with that NPC, and you're like, hey, I want to level up. And she says, okay, it'll cost you this much to upgrade. And then every time you upgrade add a level, the amount of souls required increases. So to the point that it's a game where you're getting towards the end of it, and if you want to max out every stat, I believe it's something you're level 150 or some crap, or 150 million. I don't know. I'd never get that far. If you want to get to that point, you basically your souls will cost you. It'll be like 1 million souls to level once, right? It's ridiculous. So, but it's a cool game. It really is. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got some secrets in it. It's got some hard bosses. It's got some easy bosses. It's got fights that, honestly, you're going to do some of the encounters and you're just going to be like, well, I'm done video games entirely. I'm going to live the life of Buddhist monk and get rid of all my worldly possessions, because this game upsets me at a core. The core of who I am. It's going to happen. It's okay. Relax. And you know what? It's not a overly graphic game. Like, it's not blood splattering everywhere. Some of the later games are a little more graphic in some regard. The mob skins are very unique. Like, I fought a mob earlier yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago, that basically looked like a hand. It was like the hand and then the forearm part, but on the arm, it's the forearm part, there was like other hands coming off it. It was a very weird looking thing. Saw fighting this thing where it's like it looks like a human, but all the limbs, the arms and legs are all very much elongated, so they're more like the same length as the torso, but the torso is like twice the normal length of a person, and the neck is all elongated, so the head sits way up here and stuff. It's a cool game. I gotta say, From Software, the developers that created the game, did a good job. Some things to note about Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, it's an online game. So you do not have to play it online, and you can choose not to, and a lot of players that I've seen play it choose not to use it, but there's an advantage and disadvantage of both. So if you play Dark Souls online, give me 1 second here. There we go. Wrist is cramping up. If you play Dark Souls online, you get kind of an added advantage. It is a kind of a community-based game, in that the community can help each other out. So you can get, I think it's called a soapstone. You get basically a soapstone item and whatever, and you can leave little clues, little love notes for your friends out in the world. And you basically leave something like boss ahead or whatever, or ambush ahead, trickster ahead, etc. Stuff like that to help your friends out. So that way, as they're playing, they stumble across that clue and they're like, oh, you know what? Thanks, mystery person out there. That's really cool of you. At the same time, though, you can also be a dick and be like, oh, you have to just try jumping. And you know damn well there's some jackass who was like, oh, try jumping, maybe there's a secret, and runs and jumps off and dies. And he's like, no, it's gonna take me 35 minutes to get back here. No. Sorry. And so that's kind of cool. That's an added advantage. The disadvantage, though, is you can get invaded, and you will a lot. It is the most frustrating damn thing ever. You're playing along, and the way the Dark Souls work is, Dark Souls works very simplistic. Your souls. So the more souls you have, the more higher levels you have, the different types. The people that invade you are very similar in souls to you, right? So if you're level 25 with, like, I don't know, 500,000 souls, somebody else level 25 with 500,000 souls can join into your game and fight you. And they will come into your game, and it'll come up on your screen, being invaded by Dark Spirit, blah, blah. And they're going to come in, and they're generally, from my experience, they're going to be overpowered as shit, and they're coming in, and if it is a true player invasion, they're just going to start smashing your face in. And by the time you're done, you're going to be nothing but a little bloody pulp on the ground, and he's going to be dancing and shouting and waving at you, and you're going to feel like a jackass. Now, on the flip side, you're also going to get player invasions. Non-player invasions, NPC invasions. They're a lot easier to do, but they are still a challenge, and sometimes they'll happen recurringly. Take, for example, Dark Souls 2. There's a section where just before you go into a main keep, you're going to get invaded, I think, 2 or 3 times before you get into the primary door. Just as you're crossing down this corridor, you'll get invaded continuously. So, but the thing with Dark Souls is they made it very simple. The only time you get invaded with Dark Souls is when you turn human or unhallowed. And when you turn human and you drink the item, consume the item that's needed to do that, yeah, you turn human, and then you have the opportunity to be invaded at that point. Whereas if you're hollowed, you're undead. Nobody comes and invades you. They can't. And then you can summon NPCs. The summoning of NPCs is actually available offline and online. It depends on some various factors. So, but all in all, though, I want to talk. Like I said, I want to talk a little bit of the game. Talk about the game because the game, in my opinion, is a lot of fun. It's fun. It's very immersive. It's an enjoyable game. I'm not going to shed you all the gory details. It is a relatively short game at times, but it can be incredibly long because unless you're running around constantly talking to people, you're not going to get handouts of, oh, go this way, go this way. It's not that linear. The third one is a little bit more linear, but even then, it is not that linear. You still need to go out and explore and check things out. So, I would definitely recommend, if you've got an Xbox One or a PlayStation console, go out, or even PC for that matter, go check out Dark Souls. And in fact, I don't know about where you guys are, but where I am, Dark Souls 3 right now is on sale at Walmart, and you can get Dark Souls 3 as well as that comes with a digital copy of Dark Souls 1 for the same price. It's like $79.99 or $69.99. So go check it out. Go pick up the game for yourself and check it out, and let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment or something in the section below. Like always, if you like what you see, smash the like button. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. But until next time, I will see you guys later, and you have yourselves a safe drive. Take care.